My friends ganged up on my daughter's friend, so I kicked them all out. Was I wrong? My husband Keith and I have been friends with Cindy, John, Travis and Janelle for going on 12 years now. My husband and I have 5 kids. Cindy and John have 2 girls. Travis and Janelle have 6 kids. So typically all summer long everyone is here with all the kids every weekend, and sometimes weeks at a time, since my husband and I own a private lakefront property. It's always a pleasure. But this year our young teen daughter had her friend Hannah over quite a bit. Hannah is misguided. Her parents have substance use issues. She doesn't know how to do much for herself, doesn't pick up on social cues, dresses not so appealing for a young teen. But she's a delight, she's fun, she's respectful. She calls me mom. Honestly, my daughter has come out of her shell drastically since Hannah has been around, and I'll take that as a win because a win does so. Hannah pulled her out of it. So yes, I'm very protective of this girl. I love her as if she was my own child. Well, this past weekend everyone was here, including Hannah. We had a bonfire going and the girls had music on and they were dancing and acting like teenagers, and I thought everyone was having a good time. But my daughter approached me around 8 p.m. stating that Hannah was crying and wanted to go home. I asked why, and she told me to go ask Hannah. Anywho, I find she's hysterical. She tells me that Cindy told her she'd been here long enough and that she needed to go home because her husband John was uncomfortable with the way she was dressed, given how she was dancing, and didn't want their daughters around her. So because John was uncomfortable, Hannah needed to go home, and to top it off, the other adults agreed with Cindy and started all telling Hannah how inappropriate she was. So everyone there ganged up on her the moment me and my husband walked away. I lost my temper entirely. I went to my yard and told everyone to pack their crap and move on, and they weren't welcome back here. Everyone was caught off guard, and when I snapped and told them not to act stupid and mentioned Hannah, John stepped in and tried to pull the, "You have to understand where I'm coming from. I'm a grown idiot man, and I don't need some half-dressed teenager trying to dance on me, and I certainly don't need my daughters thinking that's okay." Turns out Hannah was 5 feet away, but she was dancing and asking people to dance with her. I held my ground and told everyone to leave. Half their kids were already asleep in tents, so they begged me just to let them stay until morning, as most of them had over an hour's drive. I said, "Absolutely not. Pack all of your crap and go." They eventually did. My husband thinks I may have been too quick to pounce here, though he agrees they were wrong about Hannah. I don't think I was, though. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot in my word, what it must have meant to Hannah to be protected and supported like that. You're a good one. The other adults could learn something about treating people with respect and compassion. They deserve to face the consequences of victimizing a vulnerable kid, thinking they'd get away with it because they're adults, and in the majority, they ganged up on her and made her cry. That's not cool. And this is John's problem, not Hannah's. If he's that uncomfortable around girls, then he needs to remove himself from any situation where he feels uncomfortable. You should also tell Cindy and John that they're sending a terrible message to their daughters. They're telling their daughters they're responsible for adults' feelings. I remember we lived in a house with a pool, and my dad was having some people over for a pool party. Every time I would dive into the water, one of the men there would laugh and yell, "Fat, fat, the water rat." I was not overweight. I was, however, relatively well endowed. It was a big joke to him. After they left, I told my dad how I really didn't appreciate his jokes and how uncomfortable he made me. I never saw that man in my life again. Since I'm about to turn 69, I'm pretty sure he's long dead. To this day, I still remember the incident, but mostly what I remember was that my dad took my feelings seriously and saw to it that he was never around me again. OP did the right thing, and I can all but promise that Hannah is going to remember it forever. Under these circumstances, though, Hannah may need some reassurance that none of this was her fault. She didn't get anybody kicked out. I'm 34 years old. My wife is 33 years old. We've been together for 10 years and have a 4-year-old son together. Ever since we started dating, my wife has chronically been late. I can count on one hand how many times I remember her being on time. She has this bizarre tendency to leave when we're supposed to be arriving at whatever venue we're going to. If we have reservations for 7, she's not ready until 7. If the movie starts at 5:45, she's not ready until 5:45. I used to find it humorous and almost endearing. There was an ongoing joke of her being from the distant future, where we'd figured out wormhole technology for instant teleportation, and that she'd just not adapted to the present year yet. But now that we have a child together and important appointments for which we cannot be late, it's not funny anymore. It regularly causes me a significant amount of stress. Our son started going to daycare last year. Since my wife is a stay-at-home mom, taking him to and from daycare is her responsibility. Naturally, she's late dropping him off every day. Then she's late picking him up. In the middle of August, our son's daycare sent out a group email informing us that there would be a new fee for any late pickups. Every minute that a parent was late, the daycare would tack on a $2 fee. 10 minutes late would incur a $20 fee. To be perfectly honest, there's no doubt in my mind that they started this because of my wife, who was late to pick him up, literally every day his first year. I've tried to get her to be better, but when confronted, she always has an excuse ready to go, which makes it impossible to have any discussion about the subject. Well, our bill for the first 2 weeks of September just arrived. Lo and behold, on top of the normal fee, I found a $262 late pickup fee on the bill, which means that my wife was late to pick him up on average 12 minutes a day. I told my wife that as usual I'd be paying for the normal fees, but she would have to pay the $262 late pickup fee out of her $800 allowance. She initially refused, saying that she couldn't afford it despite having no real expenses other than her phone and Netflix, and then she called the daycare to try and debate the issue. I watched as she tried to play Erin Brockovich. She eventually tired herself out frantically Googling laws while on the phone and hung up on the poor staff. At that time, I told her that it was entirely her fault, and that if she couldn't even do the bare minimum of being an adult, she needed to grow up. She immediately began barraging me with excuses. She then laid down her final debate-ending question. Why don't you just pick him up then? Because I'm at work. I work for a living. Anyway, the daycare won't take him back until the bill is paid in full. I feel terrible for my son, because he's completely innocent in all of this and loves going to daycare, but I feel like it's the only way to get my wife to realize there are consequences for her tardiness. Am I pushing it too far too fast, or should I stick to my guns here? So she's a stay-at-home mom who's lucky enough to put her kid in daycare. Why on heck can't she get on time for her kid? Will it be the same for school? What is she doing the whole day to not even be able to leave on time for her own kid? She's an adult. She should start behaving like one. Don't put your foot down, Opie. She needs to grow up faster. As others have asked, why is she a stay-at-home mom if you guys are having to pay daycare fees and she has an allowance? What the actual heck? How does she think it makes the child feel when everyone else's parents pick them up on time, and he's left there sitting alone because his stay-at-home mom is hectic? What else is she doing at this time? It's time for Ms. Lazy Witch to get a job. I, 26 male, and the half-brother of Jake, 29 male, who has been considered the heir to our family business, an avian breedery, for as long as I can remember. Our parents assumed that Jake would inherit it because he was the eldest. He's grown up presuming this, and he currently works at the breedery full-time. Here's where things get complicated. While Jake is talented and has a good rapport with customers and the birds, he's also been quite irresponsible in his personal life. He has a pattern of playing fast and loose with his health and finances, leading my parents to worry about his long-term ability to run Terrain. Despite this, he's never been irresponsible with the business itself, and it's clear that he loves it. As our parents have gotten older, I noticed their concerns about Jake's lifestyle becoming more pronounced. They started discussing their plans for transferring the business to him and whether he'd be able to manage it all. After several family discussions, my parents admitted they were uncertain about Jake's ability to sustain the business in the long run due to his other issues. During one of those conversations, I suggested that maybe I could take on more responsibility and learn the business to make it a smoother transition for Jake and the company. My parents seemed to warm up to this idea, particularly since I've taken part in significant projects at the family business, albeit part-time. Over the next few months, I spoke to my parents more about how my vision for the family business could help it grow, and suggested implementing some changes that I felt could attract a broader audience. I think they found my energy refreshing, and finally I managed to convince them to seriously consider passing the business on to me, instead of Jake. When I shared the news with Joe, he was devastated. He feels he deserves the business since he's dedicated his life to it, and has been led to believe it would be his. He believes I've stepped in as a backstabber, and that my parents are enabling me instead of trusting him. He argued pretty calmly. I think he was stunned, and then left. I haven't seen much of him for a week, but he's stopped partying and dressing flashy. It broke my heart to see him so crushed, as he's genuinely passionate about the family business. For all his many faults, he's been really dedicated to it. It's the one thing he's responsible for. Also, while it's our father's family, his mother helped run it, and there are her touches all over it. My parents seem to be on my side, but I can't help but feel bad for Jake. I didn't start this to hurt him, but it's what's best for the business's future. Eddie, if it's relevant, Jake has work experience from working here, but would probably need to a better title if he wants to get a job somewhere else. He had a year of being an AM for an animal science degree, but took a leave of absence and didn't return. When I say he's reckless, I mean he goes out partying almost every night he isn't working. He's made out with every girl in the county lines. He's had numerous deeply unhealthy relationships. He's been drinking since high school, and he generally burns through his paycheck in 2 days. As careful as he is with business, he's borderline self-destructive when he's having fun. He's loyal and a nice guy, but a mess I couldn't ethically recommend someone date. Never mind running a company. You convince your parents to overtake Jake's entire life plan, which he's been working on for a long time, And you did it sneakily. It's not as if you and he had been in open competition for as long as you were able to compete. Moreover, you do not indicate that the business means nearly as much to you as it does to him. He will probably see you as ruining his life for no good reason, and he'll be right. You are the idiot. Wow, you slimeballed your own brother who's worked hard. Truly, wow. I would sure like to know how the business was started. This sounds like those stories where the couple starts a business, mom dies, dad remarries, has a kid with a new wife, and mistreats the late wife's kid. The business was started in the 40s on our dad's side of the family. His mom did help with the business, but wasn't the primary anything. His mother also isn't dead. She came out and they were in the process of getting amicably divorced when she learned she was pregnant. She knew she wanted to move out of the country, so she surrendered custody to our father. She was a good family friend for a while, actually, and hung out with my mother pretty often. She moved to another country and we lost most contact with her, which hurt my brother. Yeah, no wonder he has issues. Why wouldn't they be? He was abandoned as a kid and his family kept the woman who abandoned him as a family friend. Jake's mom abandoned him and then his remaining family went behind his back to disinherit him from the family business. Anxious attachment, and this family sounds like a lovely combination. Obi, do something to fix your horrible mistake. I, 45 male, feel like I'm spiraling right now and don't know what to do. My son, teen, and daughter, young teen, have events on the same day, and I feel like whatever I do I'm going to hurt one of them. I've had a difficult relationship with my son for years. He's into break dancing, and for a long time I honestly didn't take it seriously. I was always focused on my daughter, who's academically gifted and has been racking up awards left and right. I'm not proud of this, but I was that dad who always went to my daughters and completely brushed off my son's dance competitions. I think deep down I didn't see it as a real success, and I'm ashamed even to admit that. A few months ago everything came to a head when my son finally broke down and told me how unappreciated he felt. He said I made him feel like he wasn't good enough, like nothing he did mattered compared to his sister's achievements. That hit me hard because I also had an absent father. Since then I've been making an effort to attend his competitions and show him I'm proud of what he loves. He's been helping, we've been repairing our relationship, and I've seen how much it means to him to have me there finally. But now my daughter has this big academic awards ceremony for an essay she wrote on the same day as my son's dance competition. There's a 40-minute overlap between the two events. She told me she'd be really sad if I didn't come to see her get her award, and I know she deserves my support too. She's worked so hard and deserves to be celebrated just as much. I feel like no matter what I choose, I'm going to hurt one of my kids, and I just don't know what to do. But I feel like if I go to her awards ceremony, my son will think I'm just going back to my old ways, prioritizing her achievements over his passion. I've failed my son so many times before, I don't want to keep failing him, so I'm considering not attending the awards ceremony. Am I the idiot for ditching my daughter's academic awards ceremony? Not the idiot. As you've said, you've already attended your daughter's events countless times despite her being 2 years younger, which means that she's got 2 more years of being a kid than your son has. You can't choose her event over his, as you've already done that many times. You can't be in 2 places at once. The choice is clear. Be there for your son. Show him that he matters to you, even when your daughter is receiving an award. Agree, obviously, you have to go to your son's event. You've already let him down many times, and after he broke down and told you how he felt, you can't do it to him again. Explain that to your daughter and remind her that she never had to feel like he did. If she's fair, she'll be understanding. If she still insists you go to hers and expects you to do that to your son, then she's been too spoiled and needs to learn to be fair. So, how many of his daughter's events should he miss in favor of his son before you think they're even? Just this one? The next 10? If he really can't attend both, then in this instant, sure, he should probably go to his son's event, but it should be a conversation with open and honest communication. The fact you all think the solution to neglecting one child is to neglect the other without so much as a conversation says a lot about your maturity. Please work on yourself. I, 52 male, have a daughter, 18 female, Tina, who I love very much. I have many ways to show her my affection, but she seems to misinterpret a lot of them. I sometimes like to, in her words, baby talk her. For example, if I'm asking her to get me some juice, I'll say, "Tina, can you pass me the juice?" Repeating words for fun like that. It's just for fun, and she loved it and thought it was endearing when she was younger. Now that she's older, she doesn't like it as much. She just rolls her eyes or tells me to stop, but she's never snapped until now. I've been doing it more often because she's going off to college soon and I won't see her for a long time, so I'm trying to make the most of our time together. I could tell she was getting more and more annoyed, but never really thought much of it since she never outright snapped until yesterday. I was talking to her about groceries and the phrase that set her off was, "Did you remember to get the snacky snacks?" Tina told me that she's told me so many times to stop, and that she doesn't like it when I talk like that. I told her it's just for fun. She told me that she's 18, not 8. I apologized and told her I just thought it was cute. She said, "Well, I don't," and said that if I keep talking like that she won't talk to me anymore. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You made a big mistake. You're cringeworthy. Even your daughter has told you it was cute when she was 8. I get it, you're facing emptiness syndrome, but that's on you, not your daughter. I'm trying to make the most of our time together, then quit actively trying to annoy her. What is wrong with you? If you want to make use of the time together, try getting real and being adult with her. Tell her that the baby talk might have been a regression to her childhood, because you're starting to feel a bit overwhelmed about her growing up and moving out, but you'll rein it in. It's never cute. Not at 80 days, not at 8 weeks or 8 months, and worse at 8 years. And what the heck is wrong with you to talk like this to an 18-year-old? Next post. Why won't my daughter come home from college during holidays and hardly ever talk to me? She has repeatedly asked you not to, and you dismiss her. Who is it fun for? Certainly not your daughter. It's utterly disrespectful.